you ain't got it by now, listen to me, bring it in. If you are alive, I know you ain't reached your best yet. You got more, you can do more, you can see more, you can be more, all right? Right now, you should feel invincible, powerful, strong. Look, where your focus goes, your energy flows. Are you hearing me? Now we're gonna take it to another level. Right now, you should feel invincible, powerful, strong. Look. A lot of you, you're not where you want to be. You're thinking of negative stuff. You talking negativity. You in that negative zone. I need you to do me a favor. I need you to know that in order for you to get to that next level, the one thing you need to do to go where you've never gone before is to change the way you think. Where your focus goes, your energy flows. Are you hearing me?
Hello, everyone. Are you ready to have some fun? Have some fun with me. Run with me. Fun with me. Ready for some cobbler town? It's all around the cobbler town. How's everybody doing? If you say you want to be happy, then just be happy. If you say you want to act highly, then my name is Alan from South Los Angeles, Cobbler District, where there's only peace and joy and kindness. Bad vibes are restricted. Folks are always talking about their light, their peace, their love. We cobblers often ask each other who they're speaking of. If you say you want to be happy, then just be happy like we cobblers do. Like we cobblers do. And how is everyone doing tonight? I have had my camera removed from me because you know I love to have the camera in my hand so that I can move it around my face the way that I'd like. But LaQuaque has removed my camera possibilities for now. That's all right. I will have the camera back very, very soon. I want to welcome my worst enemy, and I want to welcome LaQuaque, who is, oh my God, and Phineas Newborn, my cousin. Now wait a minute, let me explain something to you. The pedigree that I come from. Because Phineas's father is one of the most important jazz pianists, really, that ever existed. Phineas Newborn, look him up, and this is his namesake son and my cousin, who I love very much. who I owe an apology because I have not called him since coronavirus started, really, because I've been within doing my internal work. So I want to thank everybody for coming by. It's always so nice to see you, Phineas. Also, Phineas went on to become a major dancer all across Broadway. He lives there in New York with his husband, who also is quite impressive for all of the books that he's written and is a gay activist. And I've got such a wonderful, wonderful circle of friends and family. And that is the reason why I decided to go ahead and do this. Normally, as Phineas knows, I would never, ever open up my process to the public, primarily because I'm a Virgo, and Virgos don't do those kinds of things. But I am truly, truly, truly grateful to be in such great company. And I'm just getting to meet my worst enemy. Come to find out, talented. J Logic, talented. Majorly talented. So really great to have everybody on tonight. We've been thank you, Phineas. And Phineas is a cobbler, of course, and as is everybody that's on here. Cobblers lead with unconditional love. This is a being, a soul, a spirit that is just the most loving, the most forgiving, the kindest. And it's this kind of spirit that I'm coming back to the stage right now because I have this in droves. I don't know, God just gave it to me. I love to love to love, you know what I'm saying? So I wanna share this because there's so much, as we can hear, there's so much violence, there's so much pain and suffering, death happening, always has been happening, but more pronounced now, primarily because the media has whipped everything up into a frenzy. We find family, okay? We're finding that family is a sacred space of ours. And family doesn't necessarily have to be always those that, your immediate family. Family can be chosen. You can choose people that are your family. And I choose you to be my family because we're all here together. And Phineas, I love you, always will love you. Thank you so much for being in my life. And it's a miracle when you really stop to think about how we met and all of these years and then finding out much later that we were cousins. It's insane. So we're going to be watching one of my favorite people tonight, Terence McKenna. Terence McKenna is probably one of the most important frontmen, for lack of a better word, for the entheogenic movement, the modern entheogenic movement. As we know, back in the 60s, we had our 60s hippie movement where people were beginning to experiment with psychedelics, and now in so many ways the 60s are back again. I'm looking at Black Lives Matter, I'm looking at the protesting and all of the people in the streets with their fists raised up and everything. I'm watching that, and then I'm also watching a very interesting resurgence of spirit plants, of entheogens, but the difference this time is that instead of these things being whipped up in laboratories, we're going back to the actual plants, which have so much to teach us. For those of us who have sat in ceremony with plants, we have been astounded over and over and over again at two things. One is, well, there's so many things, but let's say three things, okay? One is the visuals during the ceremony, unbelievable. Secondly, is the kind of even though these ceremonies can be very intense, when you come out of it, you are feeling so refreshed and replenished, and this is because these have very positive effects on the body as well as the spirit and mind. And then the third thing is the state of mind that you find yourself in after you have participated in with these plant teachers. Very sacred here, plant teachers. And these teachers, these plants really create new neural pathways, new thoughts, new ways that tend to lead people to unconditional love, tend people to think about how can I do my career and help people? How can I bring my family back together again? How can I be of love and service to my brothers, my sisters, my fellow cobblers? These are the things that
look into the camera.
these are the things that are I'm being directed right now. You know, I think I know what I'm doing, but often I find that I don't. So I'm having to be told what to do. Now I'm looking into your eyes and I'm loving every second of it. Hey, what's going on? Looking kind of good there, you know. Oh, thank you. I kind of threw this together. By the way, does everybody love my newly refurbished coverall? Let me stand up and let me really give you a look at what I'm wearing today. This is my Bubbleberry coverall. Yes, okay, so it's pretty big, but I put this patch on it, and I'm pretty happy, you know what I'm saying? Thank you there, Auntie. All right. And what's kind of cool, too, is that I put my little thermal shirt on underneath it, because it got kind of a little cold today. So, we make it work up here in the hood, okay? So I need comments in the box here, which I'm watching very carefully, on what you thought of my wonderful onesie. Okay. Oh, you have onesies on? But see, you're wearing, my worst enemy, you're not wearing a fabulous fashion statement such as this. You're wearing like those thermal, tight ones, you know what I'm saying, that you wear when you go camping, right? Okay, yes, okay, nice. No, he says no, I'm wearing a dope one, Yeah, ever since I was a kid, onesies. Can't get enough of them. But thank you everybody for making your comments. All right, so without further ado, I am going to now bring you into the presence of, it is the Firestone patch. Isn't that funny? I just think it's cool, and I'm almost positive I bought this in Europe. I don't know what they were doing with the Firestones patch, but yeah. But it's really, thank you so much, LaQuaque, for mentioning how cute the patch and the outfit and me look. Thank you. I just, I don't try that hard. I just wake up in the morning and, after I've said my prayers and done my meditation, then I go and do a little bit of, put my skin regimen on, Anyway, LaQuaque the Wise, okay? LaQuaque changed it up. All right, so I think we're gonna skip playing a song right now because I want to get right into Terrence McKenna because Terrence is amazing. There is an amazing story that Terrence may choose to get into a little bit here. I think he's gonna get into psilocybin. His main thing that he was an advocate for was psilocybin. But also he participated with ayahuasca, he participated with, DMT, and there are two different kinds of DMT. There's NN and there's 5-MeO DMT. My personal experience working with a shaman was that I didn't know what anything was, but I one day I'll tell you my whole story, but I ended up getting blasted off with 5-MeO DMT, which is the most powerful entheogen that you can take, period, hands down. And at least that we know of here in the West here. And it changed my life, but it was very frightening in the process. And now I've done many of those ceremonies. But that's what he's talking about. Just so I can give you a little context, he is talking about, and he's very articulate, but he's talking about a door. To something that is, it is very intense, LaQuaque, and without further ado, I'm going to just go ahead and start this, and I may stop every now and then just to accentuate, but enjoy this, everyone. I give to you Terrence McKenna.
Languages, and that took me to Asia and sort of disillusioned me with traditional spiritual approaches in the Asian style. I started out my academic career as an art historian with a major in Asian languages, and that took me to Asia and sort of disillusioned me with traditional spiritual approaches in the Asian style. And I reconnected then with my childhood love of nature and pretty much abandoned the humanities and went into the sciences. But by then it was too late to become a real scientist, and I was too tainted by my time again among the poets and the artists. So I had to become a very soft, hard scientist. So I got a degree in conservation of natural resources, about as soft a science as you'll ever hope to touch. And I did a lot of traveling around looking for a viable, vibrant, numinous approach to spiritual reality. And the only place I found it was in the Amazon basin, where, as you know, there are extremely archaic groups of people who never submitted themselves to the historical process the way the peoples of the Middle East and Europe did. And there flourishes, through the use of chemically complex plants, techniques and traditions for accessing a world invisible to the rest of us, a world of forces and information that is transhuman, supernatural, if the word means anything. But this supernatural dimension is anchored in the plants that live in our world. And my brother was a botanist, and I had botanical training. As we studied the psychoactive plants of the world, especially the New World tropics, where they seem to be concentrated, we were simultaneously exalted by the realization that we had found a doorway, a real doorway into hyperspace, and at the same time tremendously upset and alarmed by the fact that this doorway is in the process of being dismantled by the forces of human ignorance that are not even aware of its existence. So this was the impulse behind the decision on the part of my partner Kat and I that these plants must be saved. They must be preserved in germplasm repositories or botanical gardens or something like that, toward a day when they can be studied and the power, the dimensions within them, can be given their real weight. So to this end, we founded a botanical garden in Hawaii that is specifically dedicated to preserving plants with a history of shamanic importance. And I mention this because this is the real world political work that we do, and everything else I will say today will be barely anchored in any world familiar to most of us. But there is a political anchoring. There is a place where it all comes tangential to the World Bank and the IMF and the host governments and so forth and so on. It is tremendously important to preserve this shamanic option, if for no other reason than we do not know what it is. We do not know what it is. Well, so at the break, if you come up, the newsletter of our botanical garden is the large stack of beige paper, and there are 300 copies of that, so I hope there's enough for everyone. We do exist on donations, so if any of you are philanthropists, we can certainly tell you how to spend your money. We have many plans for your money. Okay. I wasn't kidding about what an honor I think it is to address the Jung Society. At one point in my life, my greatest desire was to become a Jungian analyst. And I had the good fortune of coming upon Jung very young. I was about 15 when a very precocious friend of mine brought Psychology and Alchemy in the Carrie F. Baines translation. I think it had just been brought out. And we were stunned, and we read it from cover to cover, and then went on to Mysterium Conjunctionis, Ion, the studies in the phenomenology of the self. I said to someone yesterday, we read all the books of Jung that the Jungians never read. They seem to stop up there toward the front of the line with the archetypes of the collective unconscious and the personality type. But to my mind, it was the late stuff that was fascinating. And I am slightly puzzled, and we were talking about it last night, at the distance between the Jungian community and the psychedelic community, because they seem to me, the unschooled observer, to be definitely sharing the same concerns, and strangely enough, they share much of the same history and geography. Basel was, of course, Jung's hometown. It was Albert Hoffman's hometown. Did one half of town know what the other half was doing? I'm not sure. The relationship of Jung to the unconscious, to the collective unconscious as its discoverer, has been always somewhat puzzling to me, because, of course, if you know the history of 20th century art, you know that Dada, which was the great prefigurative movement for surrealism, rose in Zurich. So, you know, we've got LSD, the schools of modern art that laid great stress on the irrational, and the great schools of psychology that extended the boundaries of the unconscious, all rattling around in these little Swiss towns. And it's interesting to imagine conversations or meetings that might have taken place when people slightly left their ordinary habits and wandered into bars they didn't know and drank with people they'd never met before. Because Jung provided maps of the unconscious, and at 16, when we were beginning to experiment with this, and let me stress, this was before the great social waves of LSD taking of the 1960s. Just preceding that, from about 1963 to 65, we were frantic for maps of the unconscious. And Freud was useless. I mean, the notion that the contents of the psychedelic experience could be reduced to what Freud called day residues and repressed sexual desire and stuff like that didn't wash. Within 10 minutes, you could tell that was not a serviceable metaphor. Jung, on the other hand, offered a vast pantheon of gods and archetypes and psychic complexes forgotten or abandoned. I mean, I thought of Jung basically as what I call a noetic archaeologist, someone who goes with toothbrush and nut pick to dig away the detritus from the bones of vanished idea systems. And if any of you have ever read the works of Jung in the Bollingen set, you know that the richness of it is all in the footnotes. I mean, here was a man who raised the footnote to a high art and who was aware of a literature that nobody else, to my mind, seemed to know about. That Jung's references reach 1,000 years deep into the past with great density of reference. I mean, this is where I learned about Macrobius and Dositheus and Dionysius, the pseudo-Areopagus, and all those folks that you just never hear about. It was my introduction to the underbelly of Western civilization was through Jung. Well, to my mind, and now I'll theme this in to today's theme, I think Maria mentioned that Jung did not have a lot to say about shamanism. He came to it late in his life, and he had already worked through the exegesis of the symbol systems of the European mind, and so he was sort of content to indicate shamanism as an area where more work was to be done. And then the great follow-on scholar was Merciliade, who then actually studied shamanism, showed what its archetypal underpinnings were in all times and places, and the combination of Jung and Iliade, I think, pretty much delivered us as firm a map of the psyche, as dependable a map of the psychic geography as we can expect to have until we make the trip ourselves and readjust the landscape with our own notes and observations. For Jung, the great path into the unconscious was alchemy. And alchemy is an interesting pivotal domain, because I think we could, in a way, say it lies halfway between the concerns of an archaic shamanism and halfway between the concerns of a quasi-scientific psychedelic attempt to explore consciousness. Merciliade wrote a brilliant book on alchemy called The Forge and the Crucible, which is the bridge to show you how you go from Jungian psychology into an understanding of alchemy that approximates Iliade. The notion for the alchemists that Jung brought forth very strongly was the idea of projection of psychic contents, projection of the active imagination onto processes and objects in the exterior world. In the case of the alchemists, it was the swirling chemical processes in their alembics, in their alchemical vessels, that they projected the great round of the archetypes on to these chemical processes. They saw crystallization, sublimation, separation as statements about the contents of the psyche as much as statements about the exterior world, because for them the firm division between mind and matter, the firm ontological division between mind and matter that is built into Western thinking now, did not exist. That comes with René Descartes, with the invention of what's called the res extensa, the extended world, and the res verens, the interior world, which has no spatial extension. So for the alchemists, mind and matter were two terms whose mutual exclusivity could be blurred under certain circumstances, and the terms of one could migrate toward the other. Well, now we as moderns ordinarily only experience this state when we are intoxicated by hallucinogenic drugs, or when we are in a state of severe psychic weakness, when there is then overwhelmment from the unconscious that is not with the permission of the ego, as happens in the psychedelic experience. Well, all of these various ways of approaching the psyche seem fairly abstract and bloodless and removed from daily existence, unless the psychedelic experience is present. And then it vivifies these metaphors. It makes clear what these various perennial traditions are talking about. So what I thought I would try to do today, and you're welcome to try and steer it other directions in the question and answer period, is the workshop is Sacred Plants as Guides. A lot of information has to be imparted if we're going to satisfy my pedagogical urge here, because I would really like to leave you with information that you didn't have before, some of which may have practical efficacy in your own life. So in thinking about this very large issue, Sacred Plants as Guides, I basically break it down into 3 categories for ease of handling in a context like this. And they are a kind of survey. How many of these plants are there? What are the chemicals that drive them? And what is their geographical distribution? In other words, just what are the botanical facts of the matter? And then, secondly, I think in order to understand what these things mean for spiritual growth and psychic development, you have to place them in a context. And the context is chronological and historical. Have these things always been around? Have shamans always been taking them? How do they relate to the synthetic drugs that have been developed in the last couple of centuries? So the history of our relationship to the pharmacologically induced ecstasy. And then finally, and probably we'll get to this this afternoon, the phenomenology of the experience and the techniques for achieving and controlling it. Because this is a practical, there is a practicum here. This is not a course in Mongolian philology or something like that. The ultimate idea is to get those who feel called to the task sufficiently informed and psychically empowered that they can push off into the oceans of mind in the interior with some fair amount of confidence that they'll return to port with all hands. So let's start sort of with a survey. Let me see, I'm going to talk until 11:30. So let's start with the survey then, and just talk about what the options are. And this will be sort of unstructured and conversational with forays into other areas. First of all, the striking thing when you want to study psychoactive drugs and plants and their impact on human culture, and that's really what interests me, is how drugs affect culture. After I went through Jung and Iliad, my next port of call was McLuhan. And I absorbed very deeply the notion that media structure civilizations in ways that the civilizations are never aware of. And Jung, of course, talked about print and manuscript and electronic culture. He did not talk about drugs. But drugs are a form of media, because information travels through the drug to the mind. That's a medium of communication. And various societies wear drugs like clothing with no awareness of their existence at all, somewhat in the way that a fish relates to water. So that, for instance, if you're in Dublin, you are swimming in the ambiance of an alcohol culture. You don't have to be drunk to be in Dublin, although it helps, but the entire society is premised on the possibility, you see. The entire society is premised on the possibility. In India, the entire society is premised on the possibility of hashish intoxication, and social mores, building design, everything takes account of this. cultures don't see this. We do not think of ourselves as a meat, sugar, alcohol culture. People do not walk around saying, oh wow, I'm so high on meat, alcohol, and sugar, you know, I can hardly stand it. But they are. And certain consequences flow from that. So as I make my way through this survey, you need to bear in mind that a culture takes its tone, its clothing, from the drugs that it admits, and you can know a great deal about a culture from the drugs that it excludes, the drugs that it excoriates and fears, because various drugs accentuate and suppress different parts of the psyche. So these are statements about anxiety, about various parts of the psyche.
To really just really double down on what he's saying. What he was saying, for everyone who wasn't paying attention, is that the drugs of a culture shapes that culture the same way language does, okay? And the same way as the myths or the stories of that culture help to shape that culture, but oftentimes drugs are overlooked and people don't take into consideration how much these substances impact our way of being as a culture. Okay, so let's get back to the wise words.
The striking thing when you set out to do a cultural survey like this is you discover that our culture, the culture of Europe, for most of us, some of us are black, some of us are Asian, but largely the roots of American culture lie in Europe. This is the most pharmacologically impoverished cultural area on the entire planet. It has the longest history of disconnection from any kind of ecstatic intoxication. And the cultural forms of Europe, linear, abstract, narcissistic, and promoting of male dominance, are, to my mind, exactly what you would expect in a culture long deprived of the boundary-dissolving, numinous encounter with the vegetable mind. So a lot of the cultural problems we're dealing with are based on the fact that we as Europeans have no place for drugs. We don't really know quite what to do with that. As you move south from Europe into the continent of human origins, Africa, you discover that while Africa supports a tropical ecosystem, which, because that means increased speciation of plants, you would think would indicate an increased number of hallucinogens, Africa is surprisingly poor in hallucinogens. This is not well understood. As we go through this survey, I will make reference to numerous unsolved mysteries in the field. And I always try to do this because I'm hoping that there are graduate students listening who are looking for research topics. And there are numerous research areas where important work can be done. One of them is this question of the poverty of hallucinogens in Africa. Why? Does it have something to do with the extreme length of time that Africa has been subject to human impact? Probably, because Africa is species poor generally for a tropical continent. However, in the interest of thoroughness, there is one hallucinogenic drug complex that should be mentioned because it raises issues that are important for the broader context, and that is ibogaine, or Tabernantha iboga, the so-called Bawiti cults of Zaire and Gabon. Now, this is the psychedelic about which we in the West probably know the least. It has spawned no waves of social hysteria. It has not been the subject of pogroms or media freakout. It's a powerful hallucinogen, and it's not only a powerful hallucinogen, but it has a component of sexual excitation to it which is ancillary and unusual. If you actually have ever looked into the subject of aphrodisiacs, the truth is there ain't any. There are things which cause genital itching and prolonged erection and so forth, but a true aphrodisiac, a chemical which would impel you to want to have sex, there's nothing quite like that, except this Tabernantha iboga is very interesting. We tend to think of an aphrodisiac because we tend to break our heart away from our genitals as a kind of a cold thing, I think. But when you talk to these people who are taking ibogaine, they don't talk about aphrodisiac. They say this causes open-heartedness, one-heartedness, they call it. And one-heartedness is what they are striving for in the Bawiti cult, and they achieve it. And they achieve it, and it allows them to resist cultural incursions by Christian missionaries. Bawiti is the main cultural force that is holding back conversion to Christianity by these people. Fang culture, the people who are using this ibogaine, it's an interesting culture. There's a great deal of anxiety in Fang culture about divorce and relationships between men and women. Divorce is very easily obtained among the Fang, but it's always followed by extremely lengthy and protracted negotiations with the family of the divorced partner about return of dowry. And a huge amount of neurosis and agony and murder and violence goes on over these dowry return negotiations. The ibogaine stands right in the middle of this as a source of one-heartedness, making divorce less likely. So it's very important as a force for social cohesion. And I mention this because when we reach ayahuasca, we will see, when we reach South America, we will see ayahuasca functioning not as an aphrodisiac or a thing to unify couples, but as a kind of telepathic pheromone that unifies whole small tribal groups together into a one-hearted, one-minded modality. And if we get into a discussion of the possible evolutionary impact of hallucinogens, we'll see that it always lies in the direction of these collectivized states of mind and dissolution of boundaries between people. Other than Tabernantha iboga, Africa's hallucinogens are trivial, and I won't mention them in the time we have. Cannabis is in Africa as well, but cannabis is worldwide now and probably has been for quite some time. Cannabis is a special case chemically and culturally. We tend to think of cannabis as a recreational drug, but that's because in the 20th century we always smoke our cannabis. In the 18th and 19th century, cannabis was eaten, and jellied forms of cannabis that were eaten, judging by the prose of people like Theodore Gautier, Baudelaire, Fitzhugh Ludlow, and people like that, it was as powerful as LSD, without doubt. I mean, these people were being swept into titanically alien dimensions. Well, when we cross from Africa to India, interestingly, of course, as you all know, tremendous depth of at least concern with the spiritual dimension, if not realization of it. That's a tougher call. India would be a likely place to look for indigenous hallucinogenic plant cults simply because of the spiritual obsession that characterizes Indian thought. When we look at the historical foundations of Indian thought, we find that it all rests on a group of texts composed between 4,500 and 2,000 years ago called the Vedas. And the Vedas are nothing less but the world's longest continuing advertisement for a hallucinogenic plant. The problem is we don't know what this plant is. This is the mysterious soma of the Rig Vedas. And Mandala 9 of the Rig Veda is entirely a hymn to Soma. Soma held Hinduism of the Vedic phase together. Later, it was repressed. And again, graduate students, pay attention. One of the very interesting problems to be looked at by sociologists, social psychologists, and anthropologists is how, if a drug once discovered, or a plant once discovered, is so wonderful, how can these things ever be lost or forgotten? And yet, in several instances, we deal with literatures which sing the praises of some plant or drug, the identity of which we cannot figure out, or it becomes a big arm wrestle between various competing schools of scholarship. We do not, to this day, know what Soma was. Gordon Wasson, who some of you may know as the discoverer, the modern discoverer of the mushroom cults of Mexico, founder of the science of ethnomycology, believed to his dying breath that Soma was Amanita muscaria, the red-topped, white-speckled amanita. This is a mushroom which has a major role in Tungusic and Arctic shamanism, but to say, as Wasson did, that this is the supreme entheogen of all time is not supported by the evidence, I think. Wasson's own efforts to become intoxicated on Amanita muscaria were not successful. My efforts have not been successful. Occasionally you will hear anecdotal evidence. Someone will tell a story about eating Amanita muscaria that obviously they had a staggering breakthrough to a rupture of plane, as Merceliod in his wonderful phrase. But it's extremely undependable. And when you look at the botany of Amanita muscaria, you discover that its chemical constituency is seasonally variant, genetically variant, geographically variant, and so forth. So often, I think, as we gain understanding of a given shamanism, we will see that it depended on an extremely deep local knowledge. And if you take what a Yakut shaman says about Amanita muscaria and attempt to apply it in the national forests of New Mexico, you could end up with a tag on your toe. These things this kind of information doesn't travel well. One of the, there are old shamans and bold shamans, but there are no old, bold shamans. In looking at the Indian subcontinent for other hallucinogens that may have made a contribution, the obvious one, to my mind, is Stropharia cubensis, the mushroom which grows in the dung of cows, and that the book my brother and I wrote was about. Other possibilities, some of you may know that there are a family of the Argyria family of morning glories, an Asian family of morning glories distributed from India to Micronesia. 13 species, all containing psychoactive ergot alkaloids, none with a history of human usage. Now, this is another area which really fascinates me. Why do some plants become discovered by human beings and become the objects of cults which last millennia, and others are never discovered at all in societies absolutely obsessed with spiritual advancement? This Argyria nervosa is a perfect example, because you take the seeds are the active part, And you don't need much of this thing. You need 4 or 5 seeds, less than a tablespoon of plant material, which I would bet would make it per unit volume probably one of the most powerful hallucinogens in nature. And the hallucinations are absolutely stunning, and nobody has ever claimed this. It's free for the taking. This means you can cut a deal with an ally that doesn't belong to the Hindus, the Mayans, or the somebody else. It's an unoccupied parking space in hyperspace. And it's very interesting. The discoveries are continuous. Just a year ago, some phytochemists in the Midwest discovered a plant. It's always been there. Nobody's ever taken it very seriously, treated it like a weed. Desmanthus illinoisensis, the Illinois bundleweed. This is suggestive that it's called bundleweed because a medicine bundle is, of course, a shaman's mojo bag, you know. But so bundleweed, 6% by dry weight, N,N-dimethyltryptamine, the largest concentration of DMT in any plant, and unclaimed by native peoples, unknown to the folk medicine of the North American Indians as far as we can tell. Well, so this is very interesting. Continuing our survey, since we're now somewhere on the Eurasian continent, we should mention Papaver somniferum, the opium poppy. With cannabis, this is probably the oldest human narcotic known. In the later phase of Minoan civilization,
I wanted to see how we're feeling. Do we want to continue listening to Terence McKenna, or do we want to do a couple of songs? I would encourage all of you to check Terence McKenna out. Yeah, I think so. I would encourage all of you to check Mr. McKenna out, and I want to thank Terence McKenna from the bottom of my heart for all of his. He's not walking planet Earth right now, but he's left us with a treasure trove of information about what these plants have to offer. And I know that there's a lot of fear out there in the general public about plants and what they, yes, he did do some really incredible work while he was here. Not only is Terence McKenna very, very smart, his brother Dennis also very, very smart, learned people, but one of the funniest beings when he's like on one of his tirades, it's really funny. He becomes the Irishman that he obviously is. I cannot encourage you enough. Just go down the rabbit hole. Terence McKenna, he is very much amazing. Thank you, Phineas, for your words, for your kind words. You know, one of the things I'll share is that I have a friend who talks about the Maasai warriors, who have many, perhaps Terence didn't know this, but in Africa, there are rites of passage, and those rites of passage, I'm turning off my ringer here because I don't want to hear that. Those rites of passage require you to like kill a lion. You know, these are the rites of passage. So they have these huge pouches, animal skins, full of different entheogens, and depending upon the animal that you are, you know, the shaman there comes up with, okay, you're gonna kill a lion, you're supposed to kill a boa, you're supposed to kill, you know, whatever. They will drink that particular entheogen, which will put them into the mindset of going out and doing it. All kinds of different things, you know. Christianity itself, there's a wonderful book called The Sacred Mushroom and the Cross, where it's discussed quite extensively that perhaps manna or the mana which the Israelites were living on for for a long period of time, that might have been psychedelic mushrooms, and that a lot of their visions and things that they saw could have been induced by those things. We don't know whether that's true or not, but it's very interesting. And when you look at some of the imagery that some of the other sacred texts have, you're able to see that there are a lot of similarities, even though these writers were on opposite sides of the globe. So very interesting stuff. I would suggest that you definitely take a look at Terence McKenna while you're at it. Definitely take a look at Ram Dass while you're at it. But there's just so many. I can go down a list. I could tell you that, and his name is slipping my mind right now. But at some point, I'm gonna put a list of songs, a list of songs. I've got songs in my brain now. A list of books that, or you can get them on Kindle or whatever. But I would definitely suggest that you take some time out with these books. If nothing less, very interesting reading. And if we have not read 1984 recently, we need to read that again for the times that we're living in. If we have not read it at all, we need to drop everything with our hair on fire and read it right now. Okay, so just saying. All right, so let's play a song. I think that's what's in order. Yeah, get on play bass. Okay, so this is what we do most of the time, and I wanted to just throw a plug out there. So today, this is the Alan Show, obviously, but after this, as promised, we are going to get into recording because we actually have to record something. Yeah, One Love would be good, I think. You want an E?
No, I'm good.
You good? Okay. All right, so I want to thank everybody. I'm so glad to see you, Phineas, just to have your presence here. Talk about a beautiful being. Talk about a beautiful being, you know what I'm saying? And talk about a talented being. Wow. And I also want to just throw it out there to everyone, after our little launch, we did our little soft launch, or we kind of put it out there to a wider net of people about what we're doing here, which is really, I may as well just let the cat out of the bag. What I'm really doing here is what I've been trying to do here in South Los Angeles for many years, which is to bring this community together around love and some pretty dope design. Because I think the two things go together. God is a God of beauty. The source has created so much beauty. Just walking in some of the nature hikes that I walk sometimes, so much beauty available. And this is the way of God, the universe, source, whatever you want to call it. Unity and love, unconditional love, is also another theme that we definitely. I have so much respect for you too, cuz, and at some point we've got to have you here on the show, tell your story, and also have one of your dance troupes, perhaps your daughter, come and do some dance for us here, because we have a great big old wooden floor here that we can utilize for. I think we could get 3 dancers. Of course, if you trained them, they would never go outside of certain lines. So huge choreographer, and also danced in such huge productions as Aida, and just many Broadway. It takes a lot to be successful in that world. So thank you, Phineas, again for stopping by, and for everyone, LaQuay, thank you for stopping by. And I think we've got let's see here, boing 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 boing. I'm not gonna go all the way through. LJ looks young. Love you. And I think I saw a couple others, but My Worst Enemy, okay, is here. Thank you so much, everyone. So we're gonna play a couple of songs, because what we're doing here is we're working on my latest EP, which is the first thing I will be putting out in, by the time it comes out, maybe 23 years. So pretty special stuff. I wanted to put something out at this time because when I turn on the news and when I look around and walk on these streets, I realize that unconditional love is definitely something that's needed. And for some reason, my voice, I just put it all out there. When I'm singing, you're hearing my soul straight out, uncut. You know, that's how it's always been. So, all right.
Are you gonna be alone?
I'm gonna be alone here in the beginning. Penthouse in the sky. Oh, mansion with a view. Oh, I thought those things mattered. Oh, really, really, really wish I knew. Oh, fancy clothes and parties can't make up for you. Oh, when you lose, you want love. Nothing else will do. Two, three. One love, one love. Oh, don't lose your one love. 'Cause no love, no love. Oh, it's like your one love. Oh, you know, I wish I would have seen it from the very start. Couldn't see what was real from what was not a part. I thought I had the answers, I had done it all. Now I feel the bruises of a broken heart. Penthouse in the sky, mansion with a view. I thought those things mattered. Really wish I knew. Ooh. Two, three. One love, one love. Oh, baby, don't lose your one love. Oh, 'cause no love, no love. Oh, baby, it's like your one love. To the bridge. I wanna run, I wanna hide, don't wanna face what I feel inside. In the morning when I wake, I remember pain inside, knocking my brain out when I start to cry. Oh. Okay, two. Start to cry. This is alone. One love, one love. Don't lose your one love. 'Cause no love, no love. It's like your one love. Oh, one love, one love. Oh, baby, don't lose your one love. 'Cause no love, no love, oh baby, it's like a one love, oh, one love, oh baby, don't lose your one love, 'cause no love, no love, it's like a one love. I want to. What's good? I like it. With my little mobile gas station sign. Oh my God, Alliston. Oh, wow, what's up, bro? How you doing? How you doing? It's good to see you. All right, so one more maybe.
Yeah, you want to do.
Remember the ending. And then, waking up into you on a rainy day, feeling like I'm dreaming, feeling miles away, 'cause I'm on you. Let's try your guitar today on this.
Okay.
Because it's all right. So this is what we do all the time, is rehearse, because we got to have this music popping. And I want to thank Alliston for coming, another very talented musician, for coming. Wow, this is like becoming like all of the dope music people. Alliston's here.
Allison, what's up, brother? It's been too long.
I know, you got G here. Thank you so much for coming by, Alliston.
Yeah.
So, and by the way, everyone, I hate plugging myself, but go ahead and follow us in the button right down here, and then go ahead and unlock those notifications so we can let you know when we're coming on. Right? You want to know. And then if you want to donate, you can donate. We're passing the collection plate right now. But no pressure at all. If you want to subscribe, you can follow this show, and it just helps us to be able to do things like get the equipment that allows us to make this production so much better. But if you don't want to, that's fine too. All right, so all right, let's see if we can get through this.
Cool.
We're getting better.
Yeah.
Like, have you noticed that? It's getting better. Yeah, it's getting a lot better. All right.
We're ready for the other guys now.
Yeah, we're gonna be bringing them in soon, but I just wanted to kind of get our thing together. So last but not least, after we're done here, yeah, we are gonna be getting some Allen emotes soon, and yeah, so thank you so much for requesting that there be some Allen emotes made. I do think I'm looking quite nice tonight with my new coveralls. Yes, I do like them. Yes. So, yes. All right. So, we're getting our EP together. So tonight we're gonna sing the closing theme, and then you're gonna notice that we take maybe like a 5-10 minute break, and then we're coming back to work until about 1 this morning. So we're gonna be working on this. Is gonna be the first official recording session. And you might get to see what's going on under this fez. No, I'm just kidding. I would never. Are you kidding? You? I would never let you know. Are you?
Let me get.
What? I'm talking to the chat. They think they're gonna get to see what's underneath this fez, but that will never happen. Okay, I'm just saying. All right.
This I'm trying to get.
Don't Okay. Cool. Put my headphones in. This is like all new, like the way this all sounds and everything. We're like getting used to it. And we're getting absolutely no sleep, which is not helping.
The in-ear stuff.
Yeah.
Like I'm sorry, it was hard at first.
Totally.
I'm so used to
Yeah.
it, but
Yeah.
it's like thank you, Monty. Excellent.
Waking up into you on a rainy day, feeling like I'm dreaming, feeling miles away, 'cause I'm on you.
Sorry, this just fell. My chair slipped into my in-ears.
Are we ready?
Yeah.
You're not gonna put your thing in your pocket, like Auntie told you to?
It's better just because I got
All
it
right.
sitting still here.
I'm finding it to be
Yeah.
quite helpful to put it where you told me.
Yeah,
All right.
it's, as long as it's when it starts moving, when you know the prompt. So I got it in still little spots, so it's cool.
Yeah. I appreciate you. I'm my worst enemy, and we share something in common, which is a nice beard.
Yeah, I'm ready.
Waking up into you on a rainy day, feeling like I'm dreaming, feeling miles away, 'cause I'm on you. When you take me places out of time and space, when you move in closer for a warm embrace, I can feel my body beaming up. You open my eyes, now I can see all the magic love you're dreaming into me. Reaching way down, I feel you moving in my heartbeat again,
No, one
love,
second.
baby.
Let me turn it up so it's an even level. I need to patch this in and just turn up my sound here so it can sound.
Trying to get started. This is yeah. Oh, I thought you were talking about our. Yeah. Not unfortunate, just events that are moving you closer to your ultimate success, right? Since we learn how to reword things, I'm not upset. I'm appreciative of the challenges that are put before me to become a stronger and more resilient soul whilst dealing with some bullshit, okay? Good?
Yeah, for now. I need to kind of work on it a little bit.
Okay, it's fine. So why don't we start at the hook? 1, 2, 3, 4.
Growing in my heartbeat, love you all night long. Take me where you're going, baby. Got to make it home. When you speak that language that I understand, make me see that heaven really is at hand. So amazing. Like a wave, I'm riding your geometry, 'cause you got that everlasting chemistry. I can feel my ego peeling off. You open my heart, now I can feel everything so new, everything so real. I love you, I surrender. Love you all night long, yeah. Take me where you're going, baby. Got to make it home. but you'll find a way. Oh, let the spirit move. Love is in a groove that won't go away. Oh, unconditional. My heart is here for you. Oh, oh, oh. Love you all night long. Oh, baby. Oh, got to make it home. Oh, this song is talking about Aya love. Aya love. How many of you know what Aya is? Come on, give me a shout. Aya love. Talking about Aya love. Aya love. Aya love. Talking about Aya love. Aya love. Aya love. Aya love. Thank you, Hollywood Bowl. Thank you. All right, thank you, Jackie. Wow, Jackie's been on for 2 nights in a row. Hey, thank you, everybody. We're gonna close out this portion of our show tonight, and we're gonna be going for a few more hours. You're gonna get a chance to peek behind the scenes of us making this record, from me and my coveralls, and from Ivy and Pluto, who have been very quiet. We also want to make special acknowledgement of Louis, that's Louis Armstrong, who is one of our mentors here at the show. We've got Leonardo da Vinci here, yes, with his famous painting. And then we've got Mel here, Mel Chilzadek, that is. And that would apply to you. I do love you to the moon and back, although it applied to me first. My dear friend Lisa gave that to me. Thank you so much, Jackie, and everybody for all of your support. And now we're getting ready to get down and dirty with this here recording. Oh, I'm so excited to get this project off of the ground. Why do I always sound like some 60s guy, like from, like a cool play or something? I was walking in Central Park and I saw Noah's Ark. Well, if you say you wanna be happy, then just be happy. If you say you want to act kindly, then... My name is Alan from South Los Angeles, Cobbler District, where there's only peace and joy and kindness. Bad vibes are restricted. Folks are always talking about their light, their peace, their love. We cobblers often ask each other who they're speaking of. If you say you wanna be happy, then just be happy like we cobblers do. Baby, like we cobblers do.
why you use me so. I be like you be like me. I be like you be like me. Hey, you dey lie, and we no sabi. Nothing where you dey do, you no be fine. Nothing where you dey do, you no be fine. Nothing where you dey say, nothing where you dey say. When I'm begging you, when I'm begging you, look at me and tell me you've been telling the truth. I know you can't look me in the eye. The thing you they say, it be lie, it be lie, it be lie. Hey, the thing where you they do, the thing where you they do, the thing where you they say, the thing where you they say, it be lie, it be lie, it be lie. You be lie.
Yeah.
you.